But we do. If you pollute my water, it's called nuisance, and I can sue you. Cap and trade in my world, in my opinion, has more to do about Wall Street than the environment. And remember this, whether it's cap and trade or whether it's about any other areas of restriction, carbon footprints, however you want to call it, water footprints, it all has a cost to it. 20% of that 1% fresh water happens to be in the Great Lakes, so we live in the right place, and it's an environmental boom for our future. The question is, do we put so much cost on it through regulation and over-concern that we do not take full advantage of this great resource of Lake Erie water? I believe, again, it's a balance. We need to balance the concern with the availability of this wonderful asset, and I think we have to stick to objective science, and I have not seen the science that says that the Great Lakes are threatened. They have issues that need to be addressed, the plume and the pollution. But Lake Erie is a lot better today, folks, than it was 30 years ago. I used to go fishing in Lake Erie, and you couldn't see 3 inches into the water. Now if you go fishing, you can't catch the walleye because they can see you from 30 feet away. I mean, we are doing a better job. Are we doing the best job? No. We need to keep moving forward. But let's keep in this balance of protect the environment, but have this asset for industry and job development.
I think Tim's absolutely right about paying attention to the cost. And the problem is we're not paying attention to the full cost. We pay attention to the cost that an industry might have to pay on the water that we see flowing through their pipes. But the full cost is felt in the health effects in our community. The full cost is the shortened lifespans of people, species disappearing. Full cost accounting would radically change your perspective on what industry can and can't or should or shouldn't do.
It depends who defines full, and we're living longer today than we have in the past. I'll leave it there.
All right, well, we have another question, I think.
I've got an economic development question, and it really came up in some interviews. In Chris's earlier work with us, we had a couple of community leaders say, we've got this seemingly abundance of water in Lake Erie. We need to exploit the lake, and this time we need to exploit it in the best possible way. And having spent a few years in the desert Southwest, we have, manufacturers like Intel, who obviously at the nexus of water and energy spend tremendous amounts of money to not only get water, but then to pump it back into the aquifer. Given what we've learned since the river's caught on fire, I'd like the Senator first to maybe talk about, are there some potential to attract water-intensive industries, only this time exploit the lake in the best possible way and create some economic development opportunities here in Ohio?
Well, I think there's opportunities to exploit the lake, but we need to do it wisely. We don't want to destroy the lake as an asset. I mean, that's why the Great Lakes Compact was so important. Pumping it to Arizona or Nevada wasn't doing us a lot of good unless you could just get the money for the water. I think there's technology currently and on the horizon that is water-based that we can use. This comes back to the issue of the Great Lakes Compact. I mean, to the extent the compact prevents the diversion of water outside the basin, other than the bottled water exception, there's going to be some restrictions on water going outside that basin, even through technology or jobs. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how we deal with that dilemma. But to the extent that you have industry that uses water, we've got it. To the extent you're looking for power generation that uses water, we got it. To the extent you're looking at businesses that process water, while Chris and I may disagree with this, we got it. The question is, are we going to restrict it from going past Medina or not? And that is the $64 question that's being debated in Columbus over the next year.
We're just about the end. Did you have a brief comment that you wanted to make, Chris?
Yeah, just briefly, I do think that we have a huge opportunity, and especially over the next 10 years. We're talking about Lake Erie, and Lake Erie is unique, and we should capitalize on that. But in the national consciousness, the Cuyahoga River has prominence. And over the course of the next 10 years, I would like to see us pursue an agenda of economic development through environmental restoration. And that is an issue that has global import. The pollution issues that we have improved but still have not completely mitigated in Lake Erie are the same ones that all the other communities in the developed world are facing. And precious little attention and precious little resources are being paid to water quality and access issues in the developed world. And over the course of the next decade, we have the opportunity to become the nexus for that, both in research, in development, and in deployment of technologies and policies that show that economic development and environmental restoration can be one and the same thing.
Thank you very much. It's very interesting points, both of you.
Today at the City Club, we've been listening to a special program featuring Senator Tim Grendell of Ohio's 18th District and Chris Varley, Generation Foundation Fellow at the Great Lakes Science Center. Thank you, Senator Grendell, Mr. Varley, and Ms. Cuda, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This program is now adjourned.